Ladies and gentlemen, pimps and players, half-ass rappers and true rhyme sayers, this is the Carter. So hold on to your teenage daughter
That's what you better
because
do.
that's what you better do because this is the Carter.
Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up.
I'm going to be honest, Carter. I just saw the little ticker at the top, and I think it didn't actually go live until after we did that. So just for continuity, we're going to go ahead and run that shit back for anyone that might not have heard it. Okay, so here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, pimps and players, half-ass rappers and true rhyme sayers, this is the Carter. So hold on to your teenage daughter
That's what you better do.
because this is the Carter. There, I feel much better about that. What's up, Carter Dillon joining us. Pat is not here yet, but he will be. He had some stuff to take care of, and so whenever Pat jumps on, he's just going to jump right in like he was here the entire time. But Carter, we have some very pressing things to get to before Pat's arrival. And I know you covered the Buffs. You did a fantastic job with Let's Talk Buffs this year. I'm sure you heard the incendiary comments that, of course, an anonymous, like these guys are never going to put their name on this stuff, right? It was an anonymous GM and coach who had a problem with the way that Shador carried himself. So someone who was close to the team, that covered the team, you watched more Shador than anybody, or as much Shador film as anybody, saw all of his press conferences. What do you make of these comments?
Yeah, I think a lot of them are just getting completely out of control and ridiculous. I mean, I've watched Shador a ton the last 2 years he spent at Colorado. And you ask any Colorado fan, they will say nothing but good things about Shador unless it has anything to do with on the field ability. Like, I'll be honest, a lot of the people that are talking about yeah, I see this on film. He lacks arm strength. I get it. I am not enamored and saying this guy should be the first overall pick. No, I think he easily goes after Bo Nix if he was in last year's class. I don't think he is the greatest prospect alive. But with that said, he is getting so much shit for absolutely no reason. Like you were talking about, people were not liking the way he was interviewing. He was cocky. He didn't want to play for that team, it seemed like. Or the reports about him wearing his hat backwards that people didn't like. He was wearing his hat backwards when he was
Who would
interviewing
ever
with the
do
media.
a show or interview with their hat backwards, Carter? Those are the
Yeah,
worst kind of people.
just ridiculous. Like, you can ever take anybody serious at all. But man, there is plenty, and I mean plenty of content out there for anybody who wants to go see how Shador is on a day-to-day basis. There is the Coach Prime documentary from the last 2 seasons. Ton of Shador in that, obviously. It is just following the Colorado Buffaloes all season long. Go watch Well Off Media on YouTube. There is a post daily from Deion Sanders Jr. Reach the People Media is the same way. Darius Sanders posting practice, just videos from practice and interactions between the players. There is so many moments where Shador is just being a great leader, and he just purely wants to win, and he wants his teammates to succeed. I remember seeing that clip of him watching Jimmy run the 40, just smiling, watching the screen. Like, he cares about his guys, and I think after watching him in Colorado, he's a good dude and a great leader.
Man, I completely agree. And here's my big issue with what was said, where he's too brash and he's too brazen and he's too whatever, fill in the blank. If you are worried that he's too cocky, then I'm kind of worried that maybe you as a GM and a coach aren't really paying attention to the landscape of quarterbacks. Now, certainly there's going to be exceptions to the rule, right? Not everyone is going to be a Jalen Hurts. I don't think that dude ever celebrated ever until there were zeros on the clock after the Super Bowl. And that's great for him, and that's how Jalen is. But you look at the rest of the top of the quarterbacks in the league, Carter, they and Jalen Hurts has swagger. Like, he might not come off as arrogant, or it might not be that brazen arrogance, but the dude is cocky. He knows he's good. And in my opinion, you cannot be an elite quarterback if you don't have like a little bit of that cockiness to you, that swagger. Like, Tom Brady was incredibly arrogant, and he backed it up. Patrick Mahomes is one of the most arrogant dudes that you're ever going to see, and he backs it up. Joe Burrow is incredibly cocky. He backs it up, and the list goes on and on. So it's just weird to me that they're making these comments about how he's too cocky. And you know what it tells me, Carter? That whoever made these comments, whatever GM said this, I think it can be taken one of two ways. One is it's a misdirect, right? They're maybe a little bit lower in the draft, and they're trying to get other teams to pay attention to what they're saying, as if they're not doing their due diligence and thinking, oh, well, Shador's going to drop to us, so we're just going to claim that we think that he's arrogant and cocky. Or it's a team who has a top 5, top 7, top 8 pick or whatever, who is in the position that they're in because they're not a good team, and they're not a good team because of thought processes like this. And the whole issue with like an athlete being too cocky, Carter, these guys are in the NFL. This is the top 0.00001% of athletes. You cannot be successful at your craft if you don't know that you're good. And that's what like drives me crazy. And you're right. He doesn't have the strongest arm. Like, if you want to poke holes in his game, there are things that you can point out. But to try and admonish his character is just ridiculous to me. So, like, as a prospect, and so let's get away from that. Tell me what you see in him as a prospect, both on film and intangibles, that make him a top 5 pick. Like, if he's going to go first overall, what would be your reasoning for him going first overall? Like, pitch him right now.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one clip specifically. I remember one clip specifically from the USC game last year, where he just fit the ball in a unbelievably tight window to Amari and Miller. I mean, there's flash plays like that. I don't think he's worthy of a top 5 pick, but I'm gonna try to sell him my best to you. There aren't many plays where I watch the Colorado Buffaloes and I am not confident in Shador making a play. I think he's, like we were talking about earlier with the cockiness, I think he has that it factor in him. I remember last year when he started this thing, and every player all over in the NFL, they were doing it. They were throwing up the watch. Everybody was doing it. And I think I think he's a great locker room guy off the field. I think he's a true leader. I remember watching a couple videos ago, prior to the combine on Well Off Media, like I just mentioned, he came back to CU to lift, and man, watching all the current players gravitate towards him when he was just kind of minding his own business. He wasn't interfering with them. He wasn't trying to be like the popular guy. He was off to the side, lifting by himself in an area they weren't using. And man, everybody was coming up to him to dap him up and say what's up. I think he gets way too much shit than he deserves. And I think he is not a bad quarterback. Like he will be a first round pick, in my opinion. I think he'll probably end up top 10 come April. And I'm definitely not ruling out him as a quarterback in this league, but I'm not extremely high on him or would be extremely confident in him. But I'm excited to watch him in the pros and see if he progresses and becomes a good quarterback in this league.
The thing that would make me excited about having Shador as my quarterback is he has that mental fortitude that you can't really teach. There have been plenty of quarterbacks over the last several decades that have been drafted who have every physical tool that you could ever want in a quarterback. We saw it right here in Denver with Paxton Lynch. Paxton Lynch, he was always billed as, this athletic freak. He could make every throw, but he didn't have it between the ears. And that was very, very obvious from day one. So the thing that Shador has is what you can't coach these guys. So while he might not have be the most physically gifted athlete or the most physically gifted quarterback, you know that he's never going to be rattled. The moment is never too big for him. And all of this outside noise, it's like, I want a quarterback that can block that out. Because every quarterback in the league is going to get it. It doesn't matter how good you are or who you are. You could be Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, or you could be a Will Levis. You're going to get shit playing quarterback in the NFL. Are you able to deflect that hate and rise above it? And I think that's what Shador has that sets him aside.
Yeah, I got one more thing too. I totally forgot to mention because I think me and you
Yeah.
just got so used to it watching it the past 2 years. But his toughness, how many times did we watch this dude just get hammered by a defensive end or a defensive tackle? His O-lines were horrible the last 2 years. Horrible. I mean, they were significantly better this year than last year, but they were still horrible.
Still
And
not good. Yeah.
He was incredibly tough. He got up after every hit, apart from the Nebraska game where I think he got a concussion. But man, if that doesn't show you his level of want for his team, he could have sat out. He could have sat out the bowl game too. That's another thing we need to mention. He played in the bowl game. It didn't go as good as we had hoped, but for him to play in that game, for Travis to play in that game, it was a big deal for Colorado.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Real quick, Alex wanted to let us know that he named a puppy he bought from a friend, Paxton, died of parvo 3 weeks later. It was sad but poetic. Alex, I really want to laugh at that because I know you're trying to be funny, but it also makes me really sad because I would rather a human die than an animal die, like when I'm watching a TV show or movie. So sorry for your loss, Alex. Hopefully you got a different puppy from, a non-tainted name, and it was better off. Segues are weird after that. Let's just jump into the next topic. So obviously this went down at the combine, and I think part of the issue that people had, and it's random every year, like plenty of quarterbacks don't throw at the combine. In fact, if a quarterback is projected to go in like the top 5, top 10, they're probably not going to throw. And the guys that are throwing, they want to improve their draft stock and just show that they can make throws. And sometimes it pays off and sometimes it backfires. And I think we saw one last year with Joe Milton. Everything that we saw on film from Joe Milton in college, he wasn't a very good quarterback, but then he had this incredible combine. He ended up getting drafted. And then this year we see a guy like Will Howard who's trying to improve his draft stock. And I'm going to tell you, Carter, and I'm not saying this lightly, I would have had a better combine throwing the football than Will Howard. And I feel bad for him, and it's really a shame. And I don't know how you could watch that and like convince yourself that he's going to be an NFL quarterback. But I digress. The point is that there are pluses and minuses to throwing, and I think he and Cam Ward didn't throw because they know that they're going to be the first two quarterbacks off the board, and there's really nothing that they're going to be able to do that's going to improve their draft stock. So what did they do? They're doing the interviews, which, if we're being perfectly honest, is the most important part of the combine. So let's delve into that. The combine has ended. I didn't want to get, too hung up and be one of these people that just regurgitates all of these relative athletic scores and everything that these guys did, where they go from a relative unknown, like you've never watched any of their film, you've never heard of them, but they're a 6'2" receiver who ran a sub 4.4 and they have a 9.3 relative athletic score. We should draft him in the third round. Let's pump the brakes on that. And let's discuss, I'm just going to ask you, how much stock are you putting into the combine? Because I know you're a draft guy. You do mock drafts. You're trying to get together like players that you think the Broncos should draft and guys that are high on their board. You as like an evaluator, how much are you putting into the combine versus like actual game film?
Hardly any. I mean, I think a lot of the NFL people that go to the combine, they know who these players are before they get to the combine. They've watched them all year long. They've watched him for maybe multiple years for a guy like Emeka Egbuka who could have came out last year. Like, they know who these guys are. Like, I sit there and if I'm watching the 40, that's a good time for him. Or maybe you watch a guy like Gunnar Helm, that not a very good time for him, and then find out about his ankle, whatever. But yeah, they're there for interviews. They're there for medicals. It's fun to watch them compete against each other and like kind of be there for each other. I like when they finish their drills and they all run to the end zone and have their break or whatever. But it's kind of just a fun event to watch and see guys compete and obviously try to break records and stuff like that. But yeah, hardly any stock. I mean, you just got to watch the game film to know who a player really is.
I feel like the combine is more there to just solidify how you feel about a guy. Like you want him to hit certain baselines in these testing. And while we're on the topic, can we just agree that while it might be entertaining to watch offensive linemen run the 40-yard dash, can we just agree that it's the dumbest thing that we could possibly do? And I'm going to be honest, like I have a problem with the 40-yard dash in general. So like as an expert on body mechanics and believe it or not, I used to run track. I know that doesn't really translate when I go to play football, but I swear I did. And I'm telling you, the people that put too much stock into these 40 times, they don't understand the difference between like running a 40 and then being game fast. We saw it out of Keon Coleman last year. It was a guy who, during the gauntlet, I think he hit like 22 and a half miles an hour. And then he ran a quote unquote slow 40 because it wasn't in the 4.4s. The difference between running a 40 and then like actually being fast in the game, you have to train to run the 40. Like I've talked to guys that have run the 40 at the combine and they will actively train for it because that is a track and field event. Xavier Worthy, of course, is incredibly fast. Is the fastest 40 time ever at the combine. He was a track star. He knew how to run track and he understood the difference in mechanics in running the 40 and then being game fast, right? So if you're listening to this and you're one of these people that's enamored with a 4.340 or you're turned off by the fact that a guy ran a 4.5 or a 4.6, it doesn't translate as long as they're fast on the field. And before anyone jumps down my throat, this is not like a Tez Johnson endorsement. This isn't me trying to justify Tez Johnson's surprisingly slow 40 because I'm pretty sure he's 20 pounds lighter than Carter. And we just can't have that running around a football field.
Yeah, I was ready to hear you say we're taking Tez in the second after that spiel. No,
absolutely not.
At the most, the 40, if a player runs a good 40, it's like, oh, maybe I need to go watch another game or two and see if I was missing anything because that was a really fast time. But yeah, it's just, for me, it's fun to watch and seeing all them there and getting true measurements because there's all these thresholds. Like Will Campbell's been a big talk with his arm length this week and just stuff like that. It's just fun to learn about these prospects more.
And maybe the craziest thing that happened was Jalen Milroe somehow gained an inch in hand size. I mean, if this dude can put together some sort of plan that helps dudes gain inches, he's sitting on a gold mine to the point where he wouldn't have to play football. I don't know if someone at the Senior Bowl like just didn't know how to measure, or if he like cut the webbing in his fingers and then, let it heal over time because it's completely inexplicable. And honestly, like as an expert of the human body, that's the thing that I'm most fascinated about. I don't care about anything else that happened at the combine and all the measurements and all the testing. I want to know how in the fuck Jalen Milroe's hand got an inch bigger over the course of a month and a half? Because that's impossible. Mike said, who caught the passes in your new video, Mario? Well, it was supposed to be Carter, but unfortunately Carter was sick. And so it was actually a buddy of mine who I have known since college, and we played flag football together. Won 7 intramural championships. No big deal. His name's Sam. He's a wonderful guy. Back to the combine, Mike. Thank you. The other thing that I thought was really interesting during the combine, because of course Travis Hunter was there, and everybody wants to talk to Travis Hunter. He's a unicorn. We've never seen anyone like him. We'll probably never see anyone like him again in our lifetime. I'm sure we'll see more people try to do what he did. But Carter, I think it's safe to say we'll never see it again. But he did say something interesting, and I think this is a really good talking point because I used to be a baseball player. Like that was my sport growing up. And he was basically saying that what he does, playing both the offensive and defensive side of the ball, wide receiver and cornerback, is more difficult than what Shohei Ohtani does. And we're saying before the injury that Shohei Ohtani had when he was like a top 5 pitcher and a top 5 hitter. So in your opinion, what is more difficult to do? What Travis Hunter does or what Shohei Ohtani does? And if you want to chime in the comment section and give us your opinion, please feel free.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear your take on this too, because I don't know what the popular take is now or who people are siding with, but I think it's fairly easy that it's Shohei Ohtani. I think the similarities between the wide receiver position and the DB position has a lot of natural movement carryover. As to where, like, if we're talking about for example, if a player played quarterback and corner, where they're just two completely different things, like at least when you're at corner, you are across from your other position. And I guess you're the same way with Shohei, but I think hitting and pitching are very, very, very different. I remember seeing a Kyle Hamilton tweet recently, quote tweet about a Paul Skeens video, the stud Pittsburgh pitcher, throwing a pitch, and he's like, yeah, hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports. And I honestly think I agree. So I'm gonna give this one to Shohei, as unpopular as a Colorado Buffs fan might think of that.
I'm honestly going to agree with you, Carter. I'm a baseball purist. It's like it's easier for me to talk about football because it's more entertaining, and this is obviously a Broncos town. But again, I played baseball my whole life, and you ask anybody who has ever played baseball, or you even go ask an athlete, like a really good athlete, who is maybe doesn't have the experience hitting a baseball, who tries to do it. So I'll give you an example. Every year, the Rockies bring out a handful of Bronco players to have a home run derby. And you got guys like, I know last year was like Jonathan Cooper, Baron Browning, Patrick Surtain, Cortland Sutton, like tremendous athletes, right? Like we know Jonathan Cooper is strong as hell. He's an incredible athlete. We know that Baron Browning, before he got traded, he was an incredible athlete here. Cortland Sutton is one of these guys that's good at everything. And we all know about Patrick Surtain. And I asked Pat about how it went in the home run derby. I was like, Pat, did you hit any out? And he goes, Mario, I barely got any out of the infield. He's like, and keep in mind, like this is batting practice. And not to throw Pat under the bus, because they all kind of echoed the same sentiment that it was incredibly difficult to hit a baseball. That's something that you do over and over in your life. And the best hitters in the world succeed 30% of the time of like getting a hit in baseball. And that's considered good. Like imagine succeeding 30% of the time at literally anything else in this world and it being considered a success. That's how difficult it is to hit a baseball. So I don't want to take anything away from Travis Hunter, because again, he's a unicorn, and what he's done has never been done before. And we need to see if and how it translates to the NFL. But you're right. Like a lot of the movements are very similar from wide receiver to corner. And it's like being a good corner and understanding the cornerback position helps you play wide receiver, and kind of vice versa. We've seen a handful of athletes over the years who have like started as a wide receiver and then switched to cornerback, or vice versa. I mean, Richard Sherman, when he first went to Stanford, was a wide receiver converted to cornerback. And he's been adamant about talking about how being a receiver and understanding how a receiver moves helped him to be a better corner. So while I don't want to take anything away from what Travis Hunter is doing, what Shohei Ohtani was accomplishing, it was incredible. And as a baseball fan, like it upset me that more people didn't appreciate and understand what he did. And I think it's just because baseball's in a really bad way right now and no one really cares about baseball. So you factor in like hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do. And then you go from that to like being a pitcher and throwing a baseball and having these guys try to hit it is another incredibly difficult thing to do. And like as a baseball player growing up, I'll tell you, like almost every stud pitcher, they were also a stud hitter. But then when they get to college, they're told that they basically have to choose, because that's the thing that they have to focus on if they want to make it to the next level. You either spend all of your time training as a pitcher or all your time training as a hitter. And somehow, some way, Shohei Ohtani did both, and he was incredible at it. Speaking of being incredible at multiple things, Patrick effing Quixote has finally reappeared on Altitude Adjustment. It's so good to see your handsome,
all this
stubbly
talk
face,
about?
Pat.
What is all
Are
this
you
talk about?
muted? I
People
can't.
don't like baseball. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Oh,
But as a Mariners
I'm not
fan
muted.
who has had his heart broken every year for the last, what, how old are you? 38, 39 years of your life?
First of all, fuck you. Okay, I'm 32. Okay, get it straight. And yeah, as a Mariners fan, a long
I
time
can't be
Mariners
straight with you.
fan. All right. As a long time Mariners fan, I have to suffer every year through mediocre baseball, but that doesn't douse the fire for the game. It's still alive and well. I believe this topic of conversation was about Shohei Ohtani and Travis Hunter, and the parallel here. There is no parallel. Okay. I think it's incredibly harder for Shohei Ohtani to do what if he was pitching right now, which sucks, but if he was pitching, it'd be like that's such a hard feat. Like playing football, playing as many snaps as Travis Hunter did is that's insane. But can it continue? I don't think so. I don't think it can continue for the length of time that he thinks it's going to continue. Just like with Shohei, like there's probably going to be a point pretty soon where he's going to have to stop pitching because of the damage that it can take on his elbow, his shoulder, whatnot. So while both are hard, I think playing baseball both ways is incredibly difficult. I don't think people understand how hard it is.
Yeah, agree. And it's like if you want to tip your hat to Travis Hunter, like give him the edge on something, I think in terms of like which is more physically demanding, it's what Travis Hunter is doing, obviously. Yeah. But in terms of like the diversity of skill and ability that you need, then it's Shohei Ohtani by far. And I just thought that was a fun little conversation. You got here just in time, Pat, because we're going to do a quick little rundown of, with free agency just 6 days away. And, I don't know if you guys have been on the Twitter sphere or tapped into how Broncos country is feeling. But apparently we need to sign every free agent that there is.
Oh,
and that's how Bronco fans are. They're full of love and joy, but they're incredibly unruly. So I have you gentlemen here to give us some sort of a plan. So what we're going to do, I want each of you to give me like your ideal strategy between free agency and the draft. So just give me like a blueprint of how you would handle things. So we're going to say like the biggest holes: tight end, running back, wide receiver, maybe D-line, linebacker, safety. Maybe you throw in a corner in there. Maybe you throw in an offensive lineman in there. Take me through which holes you would fill in free agency, ideally, like who's getting that big money contract and what position, and then how you see the draft going kind of pick by pick, like what position you would ideally target. So go ahead, Carter, we'll start with you.
You want me to go through the whole thing right now?
The whole thing?
The whole thing?
Baby.
All right.
The whole thing?
All right. I think free agency.
We'll start with free agency and then we'll bounce back and forth.
Yeah, there we go.
Free agency.
Pat needs to get back in.
I think free agency is where you look at the safety and the linebacker position in specific. There's a lot of decent names out there. You would say D-line for this one, but there's not too many popular names out there in this free agency class. So if we're talking linebacker, I like Nick Bolton. I think he's a name that's been thrown out there a lot in Broncos country. Rumored Chiefs are just going to let him walk. I think that'd be a great signing, obviously, because he's leaving the Chiefs too. So that's the cherry on top there. Because this linebacker room is in shambles right now. Dre Greenlaw, another name, suffered that injury in the Super Bowl not too long ago. Kind of, why not, right? There's not too many names that can't be upgrades. At the safety position, I like Cameron Bynum from Minnesota. I think that's an under the radar name that not a lot of people are talking about. Everybody's kind of talking about Javon Holland or Chin or bigger names like that. And I don't think they really need a big fish there. I just think they need a slight upgrade, or a guy like Trayvon Moehrig from Las Vegas could fit in there well. And then I'd probably like to add a decent maybe an older guy, a guy that'll sign a 1-year deal, kind of just a veteran D lineman, kind of just safety there if they don't choose to re-sign DJ Jones.
What do you think? What's your free agency plan?
Well, I think Carter's on the right path, right? The old saying is like, buy a defense, draft an offense. You got to like, I have to imagine that they're going to look at the safety position, at least like, see what the options are out there. You mentioned Holland. I think that'd be great. I've seen a lot of people say Hufanga. Can we stop with the injured players? I get it. People get hurt all the time, but like, there are players that people are saying, oh, we should go get this guy. It's like, this dude has played like less than 50% of snaps for the last 3 years. So let's just chill. I think that they kick the tires around, see what linebacker options are out there. Is Nick Bolton the answer though? In this defense, is he the answer? What role are we bringing him in to fill? Right. I think if we're pairing him as like the run gap stopper with Cody Barton potentially being, the cover guy, the Will type or Sam type, then fine. Throw the bag at Nick Bolton. I think my concern would be like longevity. He's really tough, but man, those injuries can come back. But he's still really young, so that's a plus. It's kind of tough. There's definitely some free agent options out there. I think they do everything they can to keep DJ Jones. I would hope, but he might get. We might get outpriced.
They need to. Yeah, they
need to. I spoke with Zach Seegers today about the team potentially upgrading the center position, whether that's in free agency or whether that's through the draft. I think maybe they at least see what veteran options are out there. And if the price tag is way too high, then, obviously Wattenberg is solid enough to be the starter going into the draft.
What did you just say?
I said solid enough.
We had a segment on the show called Watten Watch where you would show film of him fucking up.
Yes. It doesn't mean that it doesn't need to get upgraded, Mario. I'm just saying if they're going to go into this season with Wattenberg as the center, it's going to be a lot of the same, right? So they still need to upgrade the position, but it'll be solid enough for them
It's like the nicest thing that that's the nicest thing that you've ever said about him. I thought you were, we were about to tee up for another Coach Pat rant.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not the nicest thing I've said about him. I said that his hair looked good.
That's true. You did. Fair point. Okay. And I think I'm in agreement here. And it's interesting because there was an interview done. I forgot who did it, but they asked a lot of the different coaches and GMs the hardest position to project from college to the pros. And unanimously, it was like cornerback / safety. So like DB and linebacker. And I think that's exactly why you guys are on the right track. I'm in full agreement of you need to address those positions. It's like those are the weaknesses you have to upgrade, but they're not like the biggest needs. So that's why it's the perfect offseason for the Broncos, because the holes that they need to fill through free agency, the linebacker and the safety position, there are plenty of options. There's not a lot of options like we've covered, Pat. Not a lot of running backs to choose from. Not a lot of tight ends. Really not a lot of wide receivers to choose from. So, yeah, I think those are absolutely the positions that you target in free agency. Now, more importantly, let's fast forward to the end of April. First round of the draft, April 24th, which, by the way, if you don't have plans, make sure that you come to the Rock Restaurant and Bar on Smoky Hill and 470. Party starts at 5:30 and it ends whenever we freaking want it to. You can come hang out with me, Carter, Bree Maestas, Joey Richards, and yes, Zach Seegers will be there as well, but you don't have to talk to him. But yeah, for real, if you're looking for something to do, it was an absolute blast last year. We're having our second annual draft party, and we are really hoping that Patrick Chiodo will make an appearance. But we have him on retainer, but he's really expensive.
We'll see. If Lincoln says I can leave, then perhaps.
Carter, first round of the draft. Let's just assume. Well, no, we don't have to assume they stay at 20. This is your path, and you get to do whatever you want with it. When the Broncos pick rolls around and they're on the clock, what is your plan from there? Take us through your situation.
Well, I'm staying at 20 in this instance, and I've been on this train for a while now, ready to turn the card in that says Omari and Hampton, and just completely solidify that running back spot. He has gotten a ton of buzz recently, like people talking like he might not even be there at 20 if Genty goes 6 and Dallas takes him there at 12. I like Colston Loveland too, but man, the difference a good running back would make for this offense is a lot more valuable to me. And I'd rather wait till maybe round 2 for my tight end and really get the stud running back. Now this class is full of good running backs, but I think after Hampton, there's a decent drop off there.
Oh, Carter, I'm hearing a lot of Bronco fans really worried about drafting a powerful runner out of North Carolina. And a lot of fans seem to think, Carter, that Javonte Williams and Omarion Hampton are basically the same guy. What do you say to those people, Carter?
They're the same guy. They wore the same helmet. They played for the same school.
What else? What else is similar about this?
I don't know. I don't
They're
know.
the same position.
I don't know. I don't know.
Else?
People see a hard runner, and it was the same people who, no one believed in CJ Stroud because Ohio State's never produced a good quarterback, and CJ Stroud's not going to be any good.
I know what Carter was trying to say. You're not slick.
What was he trying to say?
They're both lovers of Black Sabbath. That's what he's talking about. These guys just love just heavy metal, just banging helmets with motherfuckers down the field. That's what he's talking about. That's what it is.
And I think that's where the comparisons begin and end. So as a public service announcement to anybody watching, especially Bronco fans who think that Omarion Hampton and Javonte Williams are comparable, they're not. Pat, what is your plan for the first round of the draft?
Listen, Carter brings up some great points. This team needs a running back. Incredibly bad. Okay. They need a tight end. They need a center. They need a safety and all that other shit. Look, Sean Payton is a guy who loves the game. Okay. Loves to take the chance. Okay. Now, what I'm about to say might shock a lot of people. And I don't want anybody to get upset. Okay. Because this is just ball knowledge at this point, right? Listen, we trade up to 9. We take Ashton Janty. We just call it a day, right? This is completely unserious. But, what if that happens? Legitimately, put on your thinking caps for a second. The Saints, the Saints have the number 9 pick. They might want to trade back. They might want to collect some picks, okay? And this would cause Broncos country to riot. Whatever we give up to move up 11 spots to 9, they would freak out, right? But here's the thing. You're moving up to get arguably one of the greatest running backs that college football has ever seen, okay? Yeah, a lot of tread on the tires, whatever. This dude is an insane athlete. His tape is crazy against top-tier opponents. His tape is crazy against the regular dudes that he played. What would stop Sean Payton from saying, yeah, I think we just need to get this guy? What's going to stop him?
No, you tell me. Is what would stop him? The draft capital that it would cost to move?
So hypothetically, hear me. Hypothetically, 20, 84, 121, and a 2026 second. Too much?
Pretty steep.
Would
you make that deal, Pat? Would you make that deal?
I'd make that deal. Listen, you keep your second round pick this year. Yeah, you miss out on 84. It's a top 100 pick. Oh well, that's fine. Your next pick would be what, 192, 193, which you're gonna have to wait a long time, but that's fine. You know what?
And they would probably trade back in somehow.
And look, you can trade down from 52. You can collect some more picks, right? So I mean, the idea is there, and Sean Payton is not afraid of taking a running back early, right? We've talked about this. Oh, he'll never take a running back that early. He took Reggie Bush at 2, 2nd overall.
Breach,
right? He's not afraid to do it. I think if he sees something that he likes, he's gonna go after it. This is not what I'm saying that they should do. I'm just saying let's put our thinking caps on for a minute and think about this possibility, right? I think that they stay at 20. I think that the pick is Hampton. I think that's the way that they're going to go. But I think towards that area, there's going to be a lot of competition to jump up, especially if JT is gone before then. Teams might start to panic, right? So I think there's going to be some players pushed down. I think linemen might be a sneaky little run in the middle. So that could push some people down. But just think about that. Like, what if they traded up into the top 10 for a guy like JT? Like, you're
going
going
to traded into the top 10 for not Tyler Warren, that Broncos country would absolutely riot. And I'm not even saying that it's justified. Or there are people that are Tyler Warren or bust, and they're going to be pissed if they don't draft Tyler Warren somehow.
And that's crazy to me. Like, you have to think about every solution. It could be the case that they trade up for a guy like Warren, right? Maybe Sean Payton thinks, oh, this guy's too good. This guy's too good to miss out on. We have to go get it, right? It could happen. Think about it. And it'll cost a little bit. Go for it.
No, I was just going to say, Dak wants to know, do you think Hampton compares to a Josh Jacobs? I mean, certainly more so than he compares to Javonte. Carter, do you see some similarities there?
Yeah, that's much, much, much better than the helmet scouting Javonte Williams comp. I like that comp, man. If you're gonna comp me a Josh Jacobs, I'm ready at 20. Give me that on my team. Let's run the damn ball. Give me a backfield with Bo Nix running it and Omari and Hampton running it.
Ooh, I love that. Nice. All right, let's fast forward to, and we'll double dip here for 2nd and 3rd round. And for the record, like I'm on board with Omari and Hampton. I just tweeted out a GIF, whatever it's called, of Omari and Hampton. I said I have a new agenda to push. And the next day, I saw a mock draft where Hampton was mocked to the Broncos, and I said the agenda is agenda-ing. And so I'm all on board with that. Pushed. Rounds 2 and 3. Carter, what are you addressing in rounds 2 and 3, the last top 100 picks that they have?
Yeah, so we got our running back checked off. We're good there. So now I'm really looking at solidifying the tight end spot. Maybe we're looking at D-line there, linebacker. Round 2, I think I'm hoping Mason Taylor's there. I think that would be a good pick. I loved his gauntlet. This man, he was just straight as an arrow. It was nice. I really like the player Mason Taylor. If they opt to go D-line, which would not be bad either. I like a guy like Alfred Collins, Tyleik Williams, or maybe a Carson Schweschinger. But I'm hoping for Mason Taylor in the 2nd round. In the 3rd round, I'm looking D-line here, or one of my favorite players in this class, wide receiver Jalen Royals. I think he's your perfect Z in this class. I am a huge fan of Jalen Royals. Had an injury this year, so missed some of his campaign. But that would probably be my 3rd round pick if it was me as the GM. I just love that guy.
The direction we were headed.
Yeah,
second and 3rd round. What do you got?
So, yeah, I think if you go running back in the 1st round, I think they kind of look at, okay, who's the best tight end available? Who's the best defensive lineman available, and kind of gauge it from there. Depending on what they do in free agency, I think wide receiver might be a later round type thing. Like Sean might look for a gem. Or even this, maybe a developmental tackle if there's one available. Some of these guys could slide. There's some guys that dealt with injuries. I think there's plenty of opportunity to maybe get a lineman that you can, develop over the next couple of years. Are you going to use a top 100 pick on that kind of guy? Nah, probably not. But if there's one that's talented enough that just needs a little more time, hey, that's fine. Like a Marcus Mbao from Purdue, go Boilermakers. I think that could be a sneaky area that they kind of look at. But rounds 2 and 3, I think tight end's got to be one of those guys. D-line's got to be one of those guys. Maybe even safety. So.
Fair point. Rounds, I guess 4, and then they have 3 6th-round picks. And real quick, Pat, what I think what's interesting about what you're saying is like a developmental tackle. The way that they structured Garrett Bowles' contract, they can get out from under it after this year. I mean, it was basically like a 1-year extension, and they tacked on a couple of years, but they can get out from under that contract if they need to after this year. And I'm of the mindset that you should always be like, you should draft at least one offensive lineman every single draft, and you have to just keep going, just keep going, because that's how you build a team, right? If this is a copycat league, and we talked about this, Pat, after the Super Bowl, teams are going to emulate what the Eagles are doing. And what did they do? They had one of the greatest front fours on defense that we have ever seen. So I think we're going to see a run on interior defensive linemen and edge rushers in this league, in this draft. And then they had arguably the best offensive line in all of football. Those were the catalysts of that team, and that's what those teams are going to try to emulate. You always have to be finding new offensive linemen, especially when your bookend tackles are getting a little up there in age and they're already very pricey. You're always looking for cheaper options as well, so I really like that idea. Carter, with the 1/4 and then the 3 6th-round picks, assuming that they're kind of staying there, what are you doing with those picks?
Yeah, so I've gone offense all of day 2, so it's time. I cannot wait any longer. I got to look at the defensive side of the ball, whether that's D-line or linebacker. I like 2 Oregon Ducks. They took an Oregon Duck last year. I think I would be crossing my fingers and giddy. I would even move back up for him if Jamari Caldwell is somewhere near that pick there. Man, that would just be a phenomenal pick, a slam dunk there. Or a guy like Jeffrey Bassa, or Bassa, however you pronounce his last name, would solidify the linebacker spot. But yeah, Jamari Caldwell, that would be slam dunk to me. And then in the 6th round, I'm looking for that second running back, that tandem guy, as one of my picks to pair with Hampton. Mario, obviously, I know you're a big fan of Brashard Smith. A lot of running backs in this class, a lot of ways they could go. Something like that, just a guy to replace maybe Jaleel down the line. So we'll see there. And then I'm taking flyers with my next 2. Maybe I'm taking a cornerback flyer. I know they're going to bring back Jaquan, but maybe I'm looking there. Or like you just mentioned, you got to take an O-lineman in every draft, and I'm taking a flyer on an O-lineman with one of those picks.
I like it.
What about you?
Yeah, pretty similar. I think that they definitely got to find at least one more ad for the D-line if they skip over it in the earlier rounds. I think there still could be some nice pieces later. I wouldn't be surprised if they double dip at either tight end or running back. If they sign Juwan Johnson or both. If they sign Juwan Johnson in free agency, I think maybe they just stick with one tight end. But I definitely think they double dip at running back in this draft. Look, hey, they also might draft a quarterback late. Who knows? Maybe there's a quarterback out there that Sean's got his eyes on. I'm kidding. But no, I think edge rusher, like adding more depth to the edge room, probably another corner as well. And then, I mean, honestly, just load up anywhere. Load up in the secondary, like bring more guys in there to see if we can compete better. I think interior offensive line could be addressed in those rounds as well. Maybe try to find, a guard that can help back up. Who knows if Quinn Bailey is going to be back? Bree said no. I'm holding out for yes, because we do need another swing tackle guy. So I think those later rounds are really just built for depth and development. So find guys that you like, find guys that you think can be decent contributors. I mean, look at J.L. Skinner, y'all. Look at J.L. Skinner. Key contributor on special teams now, right? It just takes a little time. Forsythe had some good games. Could get better. Who knows? But those are the rounds where we're looking at guys who maybe they can turn into something, provide special teams help, maybe spot start here and there. But yeah, I think those positions are probably where they're going to aim for those later rounds.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I will put everyone's mind at ease. I know this feels like an eternity ago because there's so many news cycles that precede others. But once upon a time, gentlemen, it was being discussed that perhaps the team would trade for Taysom Hill. And Pat, you were locked in the basement, and so I actually had that conversation with Bree about whether or not Taysom Hill would be a Denver Bronco. And according to some very well-placed sources, and I just want to let you guys know, I have actual sources, okay? I don't have fabricated sources like Cecil Lammey. I talk to actual people who know actual people in the NFL. They are not trading for Taysom Hill. They are also not going to trade for a Cooper Kupp. Obviously, they were out on Deebo Samuel. They're not going to trade for one of these aging wide receivers. And that's from an actual source, okay? And not just something that's completely made up for clicks. And yeah, Frankie, of course, is one of the sources. Frankie, you got to protect your sources, man. I'm trying to protect you, but you want to out yourself, then, that's up to you. But this is one last question that I will ask you.
Are we going to draft a punter?
You want to draft a punter?
Are we?
You want to draft a punter?
I'm asking. Are we drafting a punter?
If you trade back into like one of the last 5 picks of the 7th round, sure, go ahead and draft a punter.
Hey, I'm just asking questions. No need to get hostile.
Here's my question. If they're not going to trade for one of these receivers, a Cooper Kupp, okay? They're not trading for Cooper Kupp. They're not going to trade for Brandon Ayuk. Is there a player right now that you guys would be interested in trading for? And who is it? And what kind of draft capital would you be looking to trade to add him? Carter?
One of the names I liked who wasn't a very big name was that Devon Godshot of New England. I don't think it would take very much if DJ Jones ends up getting priced out of our range. I think that would be an easy solution there. So that would probably be my first pick. I don't want any of these flashy names, man. We don't need it. We don't need to pay receivers $100,000 million like the Bengals are going to have to with their core. Just give me good football players all over the board and let Sean cook.
I love how excited you just got Frankie. Frankie went on an absolute tear. You mentioned him, and then Frankie said it in the chat, like right after you said it. And then Frankie was just Frankieing all over the place. Pat, who are you trading for?
I'm panic looking up the best centers. Hang on. Creed Humphrey. That's who we're trading for.
Trading for Creed Humphrey. What is that going to cost?
Are we trading for a punter?
That's our first round pick. Send 20 to Kansas City for Creed Humphrey.
No. They'll take a 6th round pick and they'll be happy with it. No, I think if
I want David goddamn Putney because I feel like
Graham Barton available? Could we get Graham Barton? No, I don't know. I don't see us like trading for anybody. I don't know. What about
like a Mark Andrews? Like, would you do the Mark Andrews deal?
No, I'm not waiting. I'm not trading for Mark Andrews. I'm waiting for him to get cut.
Okay, fair.
Like,
I just ask because our beloved Zach Seegers wrote an article about potentially trading for
Yeah.
Mark Andrews.
and I think like if they hold out
It's
long enough,
synergy in LTB.
is Justin Tucker of it? It's too soon.
Whoa.
That's too soon.
Whoa.
Justin Tucker is going to be looking for a job here pretty soon, or in jail.
Yeah, out of fucking
I think-
Kinko's, that dude isn't going to get a job in the NFL.
I think like trading for Cooper Kupp is so crazy to me because they're just going to cut him and then you can just sign him for next to nothing. I think like legitimately, if they made a trade, I could see them trading. God, what if they traded for Eric McCoy from New Orleans? That'd be hilarious. But it would also solve the center issue. I don't know.
So
like,
you're saying there is a center issue?
Well, yes, that's what, like, God, Mike. Hey, no, Frankie just said Michael Mayer. I'm kicking the tires on Michael Mayer. I'm kicking the tires on that because that dude, like, you can cut Adam Troutman at that point. There's no need, or he can be the third tight end. I don't really give a shit. But if you trade for Michael Mayer, fucking send them Troutman in the trade. I don't care.
I mean, that's probably one of your 6th-round picks, right? And then maybe you get a 7th in return.
No, not a 6th-round pick. My God, no, that's going to cost way more. Oh yeah, no, Frankie, I'm sorry. No offense. Yes, bro.
They overdrafted him, and they never figured out how to use him.
Overdrafted? What?
I mean, for what they did with him, the Raiders overdrafted him because they clearly didn't have a plan, and then they drafted Brock Bowers because they completely forgot that Mayer was on the team. This is more a comment about how incompetent the Raiders are, okay, Pat? So just settle your tits.
And that's on God. No, I would trade for Michael Mayer. I would trade for Michael Mayer tomorrow. I'll send them Luke Wattenberg in the trade too. And then I'll just go draft a safety. I don't give a shit. Or a draft a center. I don't give a shit. I'll do it. I'll send him packing right now. Give me Michael Mayer, or give me, who did I say? Creed Humphrey. Yeah. Give me that guy too.
Creed Humphrey,
McCoy is the most realistic.
Taking players from our division opponents and weakening them. It's chess, not checkers.
Panic searching on PFF. Who was the highest graded center? Yeah.
Boys, before we get out of here, it is time for everybody's favorite segment, a segment that is sweeping the nation and is being regarded as the greatest segment in sports talk. This is Bricked Up. In case you can't tell, I used a free programming software to get that graphic. Shocking. I know.
Real quick before we get to
sir.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry. I was just gonna say another name we should trade for. Hjalte Froholt. There you go.
Thanks, Pat.
You're welcome.
Well,
Carter, what's got you bricked up?
Now that Carter's at half-mast, why don't you bring it back up the flagpole, Carter?
Froholt, that's what. Trading for him. No, man. This is my favorite time of the NFL year. I'm a huge fan of the draft. It's tradition for me to watch the stupid draft day movie.
Whoa!
Okay, it's a great movie, but it's a great movie. We'll just leave it there.
It can be.
But man, there's no better than hearing the draft music and getting settled in, waiting to hear who your team is going to add, and it's just a super exciting time to talk ball with the draft coming up in about a month and a half.
Patrick, what has you bricked up?
The trade in draft days got me bricked up. Who is making that trade? That's crazy. No, what's got me absolutely, through the zipper right now is
oh lordy.
Just the thought that the Denver Broncos offense is about to get so much better. It's about to get so much better. I hope. I really hope no one clips this and then gives it back to me later when they stink. But
LTV News will be all over that.
Through the zipper. Crazy. No, I like free agency is honestly one of the most fun times. All the rumors. My phone's going to be going off all day long. I get to be part of it, which is great. But I'm just excited to see all the moving pieces. Who's going to throw how much money at what? How much money are we going to throw at Riley Dixon to come back and be the punter for the Denver Broncos? How much money are we going to throw at Nick Bolton to come change sides, switch allegiances in the AFC West?
Come to the good guys.
How much money is Brandon Cooks going to get from the Denver Broncos? I'm excited for all of these things, right? I'm excited.
You haven't gotten to push that agenda recently, Pat.
I know. I've been trying, dude. Life's tough. Babies take all your time. It's crazy.
That's facts.
No, I'm just excited for free agency. Like Carter said, excited for the draft, man. Draft time is just unbeatable. I think we're going to see. I have a feeling. I think we're going to see a lot of trades in this draft. I think it's going to be one of those weird drafts where we're kind of downplaying how much talent is in this draft, but sneakily, I feel like there's a lot of teams that are going to be moving some pieces. We already hear about, New York potentially signing Aaron Rodgers and then still trading up to 1. That's crazy. That's insane to me, right? But that's what makes draft time so much fun. Where is Shedeur Sanders going to go? Is Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders going to be the next Brady Manning? Is this going to be one of these long time things? That's how it feels. Seeing these guys compete off the field. I think
it's so much fun to watch. Yeah.
Imagine they end up in the same division. That would be crazy.
That would be fun.
So that's what gets me bricked up. Yeah, Frankie and the Zers trying to make a playoff push. Hey, go Zers. Huh? Let's go. Shaden Sharp, best player in the league. Let's go. Sorry. Best young player in the league.
Frankie's bricked up to watch the Bucks beat the Nuggets in the finals in 5 games. First of all, Frankie, I'm flattered that you think that the Nuggets are going to make it to the finals. They're the most inconsistent team that I've ever watched in my entire life. I wish I knew, man. It's one night they'll show up and they're God's gift to earth. They're the perfect basketball team. And then they'll show up the next night and then just poo-poo all down their leg. And they all completely forget how to play basketball if their name's not Nikola Jokic. But what's hysterical, Frankie, is that you think the Bucks are going to make it to the finals. Hey. When will you learn you already got your one?
Hey.
Oh, yes. We need to add a piece like Kyle Kuzma. He's just a walking meme. I'll tell you what has me bricked up, gentlemen, and it's an oldie but a goodie. What gets me bricked up is that big Knicks energy. And let me tell you why I'm bricked up about him. And I'm we're a little flaccid because we haven't got to watch Bo Nix play football in a couple of months, and it hurts my soul. It hurts my heart, okay? But then the NFL graced us with the top 10 plays of the Denver Broncos this past season, and it reinvigorated me because it reminded me that we finally at long last have a quarterback, and not just any quarterback, but a quarterback who is going to be a top 3 guy in this league by the end of a couple of seasons, and you can take that to the freaking bank. We're talking about a guy that had better statistics than Patrick Mahomes last year, despite not having a running game, despite not having a tight end, despite having Cortland Sutton and then a bunch of dudes. This man is the truth. And it bleeds into what else gets me bricked up and what's getting you boys bricked up, free agency in the draft. Because everything that they get to do from here on out is to build around Bo. And finally, we have the ultimate chess piece, our king, Bo Nix. And that is why it is so exciting to be in free agency. That is why it's so exciting that we're up here for the draft, because we have Bo Nix and that big
Joseph Benjamin
Nix
Nix.
energy.
I
And
don't
if
get
you
that
like
joke.
this shirt or shirts like it, you can go to altitudeadjustmentshop.com and load up on your Denver Broncos and Bo Nix gear. It was just an
I don't get that
effortless
shirt.
plug
What's the joke?
on my part.
What's the joke?
So usually you would say big dick energy. But Nix kind of sounds like dick. But you can't just put big dick energy on a shirt and like wear it out into public unless you're a meth head. Which you're very
Washington
familiar
fans-
with in Portland, Patrick.
Didn't Washington fans do like the big penis energy or something like that a couple years ago?
Yeah,
Is that
but
what they were?
Washington fans are stupid.
Oh damn.
Boggins.
Okay. Anyways,
Just kidding. Anything
Wow.
else before we get out, boys? Oh, Pat, go ahead and plug your show right quick.
Yes. Believe in the Broncos on the Believe Network with the one and only Bree Maestas. She is absolutely incredible. Doing amazing offseason work. Obviously been off for a little bit with the babes, but we're going to be covering free agency. We're going to be covering the draft. Also doing a free agency show on Bleacher Report with Chris Harris Jr. and Kurt Bankert in 6 days. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to do that. And yeah, make sure you go follow me on the socials at Patrick Chiotti for good, solid football content and maybe some politics. Who knows? I don't know.
I think it's really cool that you get to do a show with Kurt Bankert because you guys look alike, but he looks
Don't do this
like
to me.
the Kirkland. He looks like the Kirkland brand version of you. He's like the Temu DH-gate version of Pat. He's like, it's like you're saying like to your mom, hey, can we have some Patrick Chiotti? And your mom's like, we have Patrick Chiotti at home, but it's just Kurt Bankert.
We have
So there are
that at
similarities
home,
there.
God, Carter, thank you so much for joining.
Anything you want to plug, Carter?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter, Carter Dillon NFL. Thanks for taking me away from that stupid presidential address. I would rather be here talking ball than listening to that stupid shit. So
I'm gonna go listen to it. I just want to hear the beats. That's all I want to hear.
it was nice.
Carter, you're fantastic. If you believe it, he's 19. He's what we call a prodigy in this business. This has been Altitude Adjustment. Mario Vitanzi, Patrick Chiotti, Carter Dillon. We love y'all. See y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that say stick up.
Hell yeah. All right.
It's still not ending. End. It's over. Cut it. Why is it still going? I clicked end the stream.